make your heat pack, all you're going to need are 2 pieces of fabric, and you can use any size you want, depending on the size heating pad you want. But here I have 2 fat quarters, and you don't have to use 2 decorative pieces. You can use 1 decorative and then just a piece of muslin if you have that around. I just happen to have 2 fat quarters that are decorative. So the only thing you have to do is line them up on top of each other, and then very carefully just cut off that salvage edge if you have one, because you don't need it. And if you try and sew on it, it can get a little tricky sometimes, so you don't need it. And then just stack the 2 pieces of fabric on top of each other, line them all up. Of course, you know, press this really nicely. This one's got a little fold in the middle, but that's fine because we're going to fold it on that fold. And then you're going to fold it in half, right sides together. Okay? And the reason why we're using 2 pieces of fabric is we are going to fill this with rice. So we don't want the rice to poke through and, you know, just be uncomfortable. So 2 pieces will help that. And then we're going to take this to the sewing machine, and we're going to sew from one corner, which we'll start over here on the fold, one corner all the way around until we're about 4 inches from the end. And we'll stop, we'll do a back stitch, we'll skip about 2 or 3 inches, and then do a back stitch again and finish it off. And then I'll show you what to do. So I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and go ahead and sew that. And you'll see here I have a red thread, just so you can see what I am doing. And I'm giving myself a very generous 1/4 inch seam allowance. As long as it stays consistent all the way around, you're fine. All right, come on little guy, there you go. So I'm just holding all the layers together. And when you get to the corner, just stop. Make sure your needle is down, lift and turn, and go. Okay, if your fabric starts to wiggle on top of you, just lift your pedal, go. This is a very forgiving project. If your seams are not perfectly straight, you're fine. And coming to the corner, needle down and turn, go. All right, and then I'm going to back stitch just a couple stitches. Go, I just do it by hand because I know it's going to be 2. And then lock it in place, out. Off your thread, leave yourself 2 or 3 inches, and start again. And then I'm going to go backwards, just 2 to lock it in. There we go, and then whoop, right off the end. All right, so there we go. We're done with the sewing part. Now, before we turn this, we need to take this and clip the corners. So by clipping the corners, I mean we're going to cut it on diagonal, close to but not through the stitches, okay? And the reason for this is it will take some of that bulk out and we'll get a nice pointy corner. Go, one more. All right, and then we're just going to turn this inside out. Make sure you turn it inside out in both layers, so make sure you're turning 2 layers. This can be a little tricky. There's a lot of fabric to get through that hole, but once you get it through, we're almost done. And pull it all out. And then stick your fingers in there and poke out those corners. Okay, so here is our rice pack. We have turned it, pulled out our corners, and then you are going to fill it with rice. This is just regular old, the cheapest rice I could find at the store. Takes a lot, so keep that in mind, depending on what size bag you want and whether or not you want it firm or kind of floppy. The other thing that we add here is an essential oil. This one is lavender. You can add your favorite scent, and every time you heat it up, move it around, it's gonna smell wonderful. So, and then I have just a piece of paper here. And the piece of paper I'm going to make myself basically a little funnel with. because I need to get all of this rice in that little hole. So make myself a little funnel and just put that like that. There we go. All right, so I have about 4 pounds of rice in this particular sack. You can make it as firm or as floppy as you'd like. And the last thing we need to do before we seal it up is our essential oils. You just do it right on the top. Just do 4 or 5 drops. And then, close that up so you don't spill it. Pick it up here and then just kind of give it a little shake. And that essential oil will work its way around all those pieces of rice eventually. You'll be fine. And then all you need to do is just make sure that you tuck under that hole. See, each seam allowance is tucked under. And then we are going to just push all the rice down to the end and right underneath the sewing machine once more, and very close to the edge, we're going to stitch over that hole. Okay, and here we go. Just do it nice and straight. You, of course, will not be using bright red thread unless your pack is bright red. There we go. So I've sealed that up. Make sure, oops, I did not go all the way. So, there we go. Made my hole bigger than I thought. There we go. There. All right. Trim that off. You'll trim off all your little ends. And then, it's a little heavy. Give it a little zhuzh back and forth. And you can see here, there is our heat pack. Now, to use this, all you're going to do is stick it in the microwave for about 15 seconds. Give it a feel. See how warm it is to you, and then keep warming it up in 15-second increments. You don't want to put it in for too long because it will get very hot very quickly, and make sure that it is not wet, or your microwave tray is not wet as well, because if you heat it up and it's wet, you're going to run the risk of steam burning yourself. And another thing to note, if you don't have rice, you can fill this with buckwheat, field corn, beans, anything that will warm up easily in the microwave that's dry. So there you go. It took us 5 minutes, and now I get to go sit on the couch, watch my TV with this warm heat pack. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions or comments, let us know. We'll see you guys next time.